In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, welcome to another session of Finding God. We are finishing chapter 56 today, Surah Safat, those ranged in ranks. We're going to be covering from verse 145 to the end of the chapter. It's been 5 weeks of this journey of covering it every week. I think I've covered it every week. And it's been a highly informative chapter because it's covered stories of different prophets or messengers in the past, who have been an incredible resource for Prophet Muhammad to look at and learn from. And I'm wearing a bandana today because, yes, I wear bandanas now as well. Thankfully, I had sent for them and they've been delivered on time. I'm happy to be wearing bandana while I read the last few verses. So, before I start, just try to remember where we were last time. Last time we were talking about Noah, Abraham, Moses, Aaron, Elias, Job, and I'm blanking on one. I shouldn't be blanking on one, but I am for some reason. Who was it? I have to Google it. Elijah, not Elias. Well, yeah, okay. Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Aaron, Elijah, Lot, and Jonah. Yes, not Job, Jonah, Eunice. Yeah. So we've covered those stories. Imagine being Prophet Muhammad in the year 615 AD, 617 AD. Imagine being Prophet Muhammad at that time, struggling with the people of Mecca. It's difficult. They've been causing troubles for the last few years, but the Prophet is steadfast and he's also amassing followers and supporters and people who really care about him and protect him in times of difficulty. But you can't expect that one human being to be so resolute that they never ever experience doubt or weakness or failure. Of course they feel it. And at that time, as I mentioned last week, it's almost like the creator of the entire universe is writing specifically for you, O Muhammad, that look, it happened to Noah, and it happened to Abraham, and Moses, and Aaron, and Elijah, and Lot, and Jonah. And it's also happened to Jesus, and Joseph, and Jacob, and Isaac. It's happened to all of them. You're not alone. Trust me. And look how their lives progressed after that. Yours will too. It's so heartwarming when the creator of the entire universe is saying something like this to you. Isn't that interesting? I found that truly remarkable. So we were finishing with Jonah. I think we cast him forth on the naked shore, out of the whale, obviously, or the fish. I'm not saying whale, out of the big fish which had swallowed him. Could be a whale, could be something else. And we sent him hundreds to be, and they believed we gave them enjoyment for a while. I think that's where I stopped. And I begin at verse 149 today. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Now ask them, O Muhammad, are there only daughters for your Lord and sons for them? This is referring to what people used to call angels and, what was created. Or did we create the angels female while they were witnesses? It's a sort of rhetorical device because God is going to make a larger point. So it's almost like, ask them. Do I pay for my own car and do I own my own driveway? Yes, because I own my own house. It's that sort of an argument. It's a rhetorical device. Verily, it is of their falsehood that the Quraysh, the pagans, say, God has begotten, and verily God has begotten, and verily they are liars. And what has God begotten? Offspring, the angels being the daughters of God. God forbid. I didn't say it. I'm just reciting from the Quran, and verily they are liars. So you see that even today, shaming is a human tendency. We shame. Sometimes people use the term judge, sometimes people use the term criticize, insult, assess, but shame is also another term. And we've done it for hundreds and thousands of years. We've done it for a long period of time. That is why free speech is so incredibly important, because until you are able to express yourself freely, you can't see how society will react to it. So, and then it's a battle between the ridicule, opposition, shaming of society and the veracity of your argument, or they simply agree with what you're saying, which is rarely the case, whether it's science or religion or art or music. It's rare that somebody comes up with something or discovers something or something is revealed to them and society says, exactly, that's what we've been waiting for. Come right over, because we are creatures of habit. It's path dependence. So shaming exists. So when Muhammad says, my Lord is this and my Lord is that and my Lord is good, oh, your Lord has daughters, those angels are his daughters, it's a shaming tactic. How? Because I can't attack the veracity of your argument, because I myself worship fire and worship idols. So I can't go and say to my God, show him who's boss. I can't do that, because if I do that to you, you'll just do the same to me. So I can't do that. What can I do? Oh, I'm going to attack you, you and your family and your friends, physically, verbally, mentally, emotionally. But I'm also going to try and shame your point. This happens even today. If you try to make a point in an argument and somebody makes an ad hominem attack, for example, if I make a point and somebody says, oh, I can't believe a Muslim is saying that. Oh, you're a Muslim. I don't even need to think about what you're saying. Or you're Asian. I didn't need to think about what you're saying. Or, oh, you're from England. I don't need to care about what you're saying. Or you're a man. Or you're 5'8", or you're this, or you're that, or you weigh this much, or whatever. Or you have black hair. There's a shaming tactic where you don't attack the veracity of the argument or the argument itself, but the sayer, but the purveyor, but the source of the argument. And it's a personal attack. So in debate syllogism or in fallacies, this is called ad hominem, because you're attacking the person. Oh, you don't have a point of view, you don't have legs, or your skin is like this, or your hair is like that. That's a shaming tactic. So to say, oh, God has begotten and the angels are his daughters, is a shaming tactic. Verily they are liars. Has he then chosen daughters rather than sons? Fair point. What is the matter with you? How do you decide? Will you not then remember, or is there for you a plain authority? I think this is a fantastic question. Why would God choose daughters? Why not sons? Answer that. And somebody would say, well, because he wants to do blah, blah, blah to his daughters. Well, why can't he do blah, blah, blah to his sons? Because you're trying to take a divine entity and anthropomorphize the divine entity, who you haven't seen, who you haven't heard, you haven't spoken to or touched. You've only felt the divine entity, because we feel divinity in here. We don't touch it. Or we can say we see the results of divinity. I am a result of divinity, as is this entire universe. So you could say that. But since you don't physically or sensorially or sensually interact with the divine entity, you simply feel it directly, because you're made of that very cosmic fabric, or cosmic dust, as they say. So to say that, oh, he has daughters, the obvious question would be, well, why does he only have daughters? Why doesn't he have sons? And well, because he wants to do, well, no. You're trying to bring that divinity onto your parochial, filthy, lacking foresight, dark level. That's not true. So it's a fine counterpoint. Then, yeah, exactly. And then you challenge them, saying, will you not then remember, or is there for you a plain authority? Then bring your book if you're truthful. So they're saying, oh, you know something that I don't? Show me. Can you prove what you're saying? Do it. Show us. If you can't, then shh. And they have invented a kinship kinship between him and the jinn, but the jinn know well that they have indeed to appear before him. They will be called to account. Yes, exactly. So first they say, oh, God has daughters who are the angels. So one, I wouldn't say angels are divine, but metaphysical, or I won't say mystical even, metaphysical entity are angels. Oh, those are his daughters. And then, oh, the jinn, yeah, he's one of the jinn. So every approach to try and diminish the point that Muhammad is making. And my point there, because obviously the pagans of that time are idiotic, so at that time I wouldn't be able to convince them by what I'm saying right now. But my point even today is, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. What matters is what is coming. I say that even today. And what you see in all the religions is there's a huge amount of commonality and small amounts of disagreements. But we fight wars over small disagreements. That's human nature. That's why the greatest battles are fought between brothers of the same soil, of the same mother, of the same land, of the same kinship, sorry. Because when you're very aligned and slightly different, that slight difference exacerbates into something so much larger. So I truly believe that all that religion comes from that same source. So it doesn't really matter what that source is. So the critique is invalid to begin with. It's an incomplete critique. What matters is what is being said. Be nice to your neighbor. Love thy neighbor. Be kind to the orphan. Be charitable to the weak and to the poor. Be respectful of your parents. Pray. Some say 5 times a day, some say once a week, some say blah, blah. Pray is the essential point here. Fast. Self-control. All these things. Kindness, love, respect, generosity. This is common in all religions. If we can agree on that, then why are you wasting time arguing, oh, he's a jinn, oh, he has daughters? What's wrong with you? I would have made that point, but truly, I am living 1,500 years later, 1,400 years later. I don't expect that point to go down any better, or even as well as what Muhammad said. Glorified be God. He is free from what they attribute unto him. That's so true. Except the slaves of God, whom he chooses for his mercy, true believers of Islam, who do not attribute false things to him. This applies even to the 2 billion Muslims in the world that exist today, and all the Muslims who have existed before or will exist after. Because in Islam, there's a common belief, oh, we are of the religion and God will obviously select us. No, sir. If you look at the previous chapter, or was it the chapter before that, 70 out of the 73 sects of Islam will not be welcomed into heaven in the beginning. So clearly, most of us are doing something wrong. I want to do the exact, I want to look at the exact number. 98.6%. Oh, okay, fine. I'll give you 0.4. 98% of Muslims will not be going into heaven at once, right? It's just the one sect maintains that. So to say, oh, we are the slaves of God who will be welcomed and he will welcome us into heaven. No. There's a lot that we need to reconsider. And I wouldn't be so arrogant and so narcissistic to say, oh, I am one of the 1.4% who will end up going to heaven. No, I would never say that. I hope, I pray for it, but that's something. So on verse 160, except the slaves of God whom he chooses, yes. But it is very important to remember that even of the majority of Muslims, those slaves that he chooses would be a huge minority. So verily you and those whom you worship, the pagans and your idols, cannot lead astray. Turn away from them. Anyone who believes in God. Turn away from God, anyone who of the believers, except those who are predestined to burn in hell. Exactly what I was saying. Predestined. See, I take umbrage when the Quran discusses time, because at that, when it was revealed, people really didn't discuss, oh, what happens after, what happens first, am I predestined, am I designed for this? But I want to make clear here, and I've done this repeatedly throughout my reading of the Quran, that predestined does not mean that by design you are destined for hell, because if so, then you have no accountability, and you can say to God on the day of judgment, God, you made me for hell. It's not my fault. You did it. So that is not what predestined means. Predestined would put the life on earth in one sector and the time or whatever in hell in another sector, and this one is the predestination of that one. You go through this one. So I think it's being talked about as two wholes, not as what is going on in detail. I think that's an important point to raise here, because I raised the point of time multiple times because atheists, agnostics, ex-Muslims, and whoever criticizes religion, rightfully or wrongfully so, causes this point of time every single time. The determinism versus free will argument. Why will I be punished for something if I were predestined for it? So I need to make this very clear every single time. And there is not one of us angels but has his known place or position. True. And verily we angels, we stand in row for the prayers as you Muslims stand in row for your prayers. So I think this is the ranged in ranks section, if I'm not mistaken. Exactly. Safun. Saf means rank or row. So the angels the angels' position is being put forward. And verily we angels indeed are those who glorify God's praises, perform prayer. So we pray for ourselves. That is the primordial base level of prayer. Oh God, please give me this. And when you grow beyond that, and I hope we all manage to grow beyond that, then you start praying to praise the Lord. It's very rarely on, oh God, you gave me this, therefore you are praiseworthy. It is simply praise the Lord. So that's what the angels are referring to. And indeed, the Arab pagans used to say, if we had a reminder, as had the men of old before the coming of Prophet Muhammad, we would have indeed been the chosen slaves of God, the true believers in Islam. No, you hypocrites, no. You can say it, but you don't do it. You don't walk the talk. You simply talk. Where's the walk? You have to do it. You can't just say, well, if we had a reminder, we'd be the chosen ones. Well, here's your reminder. No, not this one. You can't play this game. But now that the Quran has come, the disbelief therein, in the Quran and in the Prophet, and all that he has brought, the divine revelation, so they will come to know. I just want to see if that is a long footnote. Whoops. Ooh, no. What have I done? I have gone a bit, I've jumped. Pardon me. I have to fix this. Yes, I have covered all this. Of course, you have been with me. Pardon me. Whoever's watching me do this, it's my mistake. I was near the end. Yes, sorry. Yeah, I just want to see what the footnote is. If it is a longer one. No, it's tiny. Okay, perfect. So they will come to know whoever has denied the Quran and has denied the Prophet and the divine revelation that the Prophet has brought. They will all come to know how they're wrong. And verily our word has gone forth of old for our slaves, the messengers, that they verily would be made triumphant, and that our hosts, they verily would be the victors. What do you mean our hosts? What does that mean? Why is the term hosts used? I don't understand why the term hosts is used. Perhaps I can come back to this later. I understand the rest, of course. There are old messages. The messages are slaves. They will be triumphant and victorious. Are hosts, are they hosting God's message? Is that why they're called hosts? That's an interesting term. I don't know why that is. Maybe I'll come back to it later. So turn away, O Muhammad, from them for a while and watch them, and they shall see the punishment. That's interesting. Do they seek to hasten on our torment? Why is he being asked to turn away for a while? That's so interesting, isn't it? So listen, Muhammad, you've been promoting the message of Islam, you've been sharing, you've been lecturing, you've been preaching for the last 5-6 years since we revealed that you are a messenger of God. Now turn away from them for a while and watch them, and they shall see punishment. Isn't it similar to what was told to Moses about the 10, not the 10 sins, the 10 calamities that would befall the people of Israel, the frogs from the sky and the blood and the dying children and the plagues. Isn't it similar? Because Moses was trying to say one thing and it wasn't being listened to, and then God said, okay, step back, let me show them a glimpse. I think it's kind of similar. And watch them, and they shall see the punishment. Do they seek to hasten on our torment? Which means, all right, you've done your job for now. Step aside. Let's watch how they react. We do that even today in business. We make a sales pitch, and then we leave the client. And we're like, let's see what they do. Are they going to destroy themselves, or are they going to listen to what we're saying? Many times, a management consultant could say the same, an auditor could say the same. A religious messenger is essentially the same thing. You're putting forward a message which is good for you. It's for your betterment. Are you going to consider it, or are you not? That's it. Then when it descends in their courtyard near to them, evil will be the morning for those who had been warned. See, it's very similar to what was being talked about with Moses and with other great messengers of the past. Similar things have happened. Noah, for example, Noah was telling people, like, look, this flood is coming. Look, I'm building this ark. And when it came, people tried to rush him. No, save me. No, you didn't listen. It's too late now. You have to listen when the time is right. And again, the message repeats. So turn, O Muhammad, away from them for a while and watch, and they shall see the torment. It's repeated, which means it is incredibly important to do so. Glorified be your Lord, the Lord of honor and power. He is free from what they attribute unto him, and peace beyond the messengers, and all the praises and thanks be to God, Lord of the Alameen, mankind, jinn, and all that exists. Typically, this should be the end of the chapter, as it is. Absolutely. I find this so interesting. Why is it being asked to turn away? It's such an interesting tactic. I mean, I've explained why. I've explained why I think so. Ooh, what's happening? I've explained why I think so, but it's just interesting to see why he's being asked to turn away. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, certainly. And also when you're trying to make a pitch, if you keep badgering somebody, after a while they're like, just get away from me. So you push and then you step back, and you push and you step back. That's a fine approach. And I think the larger divine point is, look, you've done your job. They know what you're saying. So now, on the day of judgment, they can never say to me, God, I had no idea. No messenger came. Was it Muhammad spoke to you for six years? He has 6 years trying to convince you and you didn't listen. No, you can't play that defense anymore. So I think that is the whole point that is being trying to be made here. But thankfully, we have ended Surah As-Safat. I will be taking this off. Surah As-Safat has been completed. I am very, very grateful to my Lord for giving me the opportunity to read the Quran in so much detail, and I'm grateful to my mother and my father for teaching me how to read it and trying to understand it better. See you again next week, hopefully with the new chapter, and we shall dive into it with a lot more detail as always. Thank you. Have a wonderful Friday, and I shall